Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Now hold your horses. Let's not take it to the stupid. What should we expect since we're just a few days out from seeing Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk mix it up? What makes this fight so interesting to me is really what's on the line. I mean, I honestly feel like whoever loses is going to result in their career being in a bit of a downward spiral. If you take a look, Fury's 36, Usyk's 37. Father Time is undefeated. No matter how special of an athlete both of these men are, the bottom line is they're men, they're human, they're getting up there in age. Neither can afford to take a loss because in their next fight, even if they have a trilogy of Tyson Fury wins, which I think he wins, I just have a feeling for both of them, they could be going the Deontay Wilder path, where their best days may have been behind them. Anyway, to really understand what's going on here, I think you got to really take a look at what history kind of tells us about, Fury and Usyk. Especially with Fury. I mean, we can go back 9, 10 years ago. I don't know. I think it was 9 or 10 years ago. Anyway, we fought Klitschko. They were in Germany, right? And you take a look at how Tyson Fury conducted himself. He said a lot of different things before and after his fight with the Ukrainian Vladimir Klitschko. Yet failed to say the one word the world wanted to hear. It was, for both Fury and countless others, in my opinion, the hardest word. Now, that word, Fury has never given anybody, not when hurting them, not when pulling out of fights, and not when failing drug tests. The word they wanted him to say was sorry. Now, you just don't hear Fury come out and say certain things. And he has not apologized for his performance against Usyk. Matter of fact, he hasn't really said much of anything, which I think is a good sign. He's surely locked in for this rematch. But within the 5 letters of, like the word sorry, which a lot of people feel is a magic word, back then when he was getting ready to scrap with Klitschko, man, I think the world would have, at that time, would have been able to bury its disgust and find some kind of forgiveness in Tyson Fury. But without it, there would be no chance of Fury ever becoming the people's champion, regardless of his exploits in the ring. During that time, he had just said way too much, wounded too many. Whether he was doing things like we know Tyson Fury to do to try to sell a fight, or just to shock people, he had let his, I think he let his intrusive thoughts win ahead of the Klitschko fight and had in a sport kind of predicated on dishonesty, dared to be the one thing people claim they want from an athlete until it gets to be too much, kind of like Deontay Wilder with the whole "till this day I want a body on my record." But that thing, of course, I just think it was just being, I just think it was honest. And there was an interview he did with the Mail, and Fury had spoke ignorantly, but truthfully about his views, as well as joking that Klitschko was a devil worshiper who practiced witchcraft. He even went on and said that there are only 3 things that need to be accomplished before the devil comes home. And this is what really got Fury in a world of crap. One of the things he said is homosexuality being legal in countries. One of them is abortion, and the other is pedophilia. So who would have thought in the 50s and early 60s that those first 2 would be legalized? By then, Idiocy was produced as freely as a jab by Fury, and most familiar with his ways knew to take whatever he said with a pinch of salt. Moreover, those familiar with his family and with the traveler community knew never to expect his views or outlook on life to mirror their own, nor for his brand of honesty to be the same as their beliefs. This, in the end, is what separates fighters like Fury and people like the Furies from the rest of us. That some professed to be shocked by his words and demanded an apology merely highlighted this difference and the extent to which people still unreasonably expect from boxers, people who punch people, either perfection or just common sense. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Back during that time, Fury was obviously going through a whole lot. And of course, anyone who follows the channel knows when it comes to Tyson Fury, I have an opinion about him. But when it comes to him as a family man and everything, I think very highly of him. But you can go all the way back to that Klitschko fight and the delays, and even having a fight take place, and then not having a rematch, and the whole thing about positive PED test for Fury and Fury going into retirement and the depression. There's so much that has gone on with Tyson Fury. And during that point, even Klitschko came out and talked about the comments that Fury was making, how it was disgusting, and just feeling like a lot of the things Tyson Fury was doing had nothing to do with the promotion. It just kind of showed you kind of what was inside Tyson Fury. And sometimes you just feel like certain comments you should keep to yourself. And you look at Tyson Fury right now, some people are shocked that he's keeping a lot of comments to himself. He's not saying much. And it's almost like they want the old Tyson Fury to surface, to give us something. But anyway, Tyson Fury doesn't seem like he wants to do that now, especially because back then, when for that Klitschko fight, Fury, for his part, couldn't understand why everyone was so frustrated with him. I think now he understands his words, his actions, and the shitstorm that can stir up. But nonetheless, I mean, every morning, that guy would sit in a hotel room out there in Germany and just laugh at, all of the people in the storm that was brewing outside. And he just didn't seem to be bothered by anything, But the one thing, there were some people in the hotel who came out to defend Tyson Fury and were just saying, look, he's a perfect gentleman, very respectful to one and all, and was a model guest all week. And what that did is give us all a peek behind the tent flaps of how Tyson Fury kind of knew what to say, when to say it, and knew when not to say things and when not to behave in a way to turn people off. Because any and everyone who was around Tyson Fury, outside of the media, look, they said Tyson Fury is very accommodating, took pictures with him, talked with him, so they didn't understand the storm. But when you look back now, you can understand Tyson Fury. It was a world of his own making as a result of his words and his actions. Anyway, when you fast forward past that storm continued, okay? It really continued. When he went to that downward spiral, it was really, really unfortunate. Really, really unfortunate, man. But he decided to come back to the sport of boxing. And when he decided to come back, there were some apologies that he was making for the drugs, being obese, wanted to talk a lot about suicide, wanted to just talk about just trying to be a great human, be an example for others, to inspire others. He understood the power that he had, the success that he had, and he definitely wanted to make sure that he was no longer going to be punished for anything he did in his past and like he was turning over a new leaf. And that could be why, if you watch the way that he's moving now, I think that once stubbornness that he had, I think he still has it, but he knows how to use it to keep himself in a positive space. And I think years ago, that stubbornness was more of a character flaw. But today, I don't think it's a character flaw for Tyson Fury. I really don't. I just don't think so. But the bottom line is, he's always found a way to get. It's like to get the boxing fans and boxing community to kind of overlook the things that he's done and kind of forgive him. You know, you can go back to the Klitschko stuff and then the gaining weight and the drugs, then coming back and him and Wilder having the fights, and a lot of people think he cheated in those last two fights, dealings with Kinahan, etc. But the bottom line is, and then, you know, not fighting Usyk at first, saying he wanted all this money and, you know, all the shenanigans with Usyk. But the bottom line is, people tend to just want to overlook things. Anyway, I think in fact, there's a certain amount of humility that any individual must find before once you lose a fight and then you decide to accept a rematch. Because to accept, right, that you somehow going to be able to control some things, and you understand that those things that need to be controlled is going to help make the difference the second time around, especially when you get in the ring with Usyk. That tells me that the individual probably recognizes the first time around they probably weren't at their best. And I just think there are a lot of fighters, of course, who try to conceal this truth, this realization, to preserve their pride. And when I look at Tyson Fury, I'm like, man, you know, has he said anything to make me feel like he's trying to preserve his pride? No, he came out and said, the better man won, simple. But he recognized what he did wrong, mistakes he made when they're with an elite athlete like Usyk, and he knew he had some work to do, especially if he was going to come back and get the win. Now, Usyk is more self-assured, and the one thing about Usyk that really concerns me is he seems to have almost. Well, it seems like he's made peace with himself. You know, he lost his father, but he seems to be at peace with himself. And he recognizes that. First time I heard him say that he's the best fighter in the world. Like, I've never heard Usyk say that. But that tells me that he's comfortable in his space. He's made peace with himself. And whatever his goals were in boxing, in his dreams, he's achieved it. But that's not necessarily a good thing for me as he enters this fight with Tyson Fury, because what's your motivation? I mean, if you're still not setting goals and things you want to achieve, what's your motivation? And that's something that I don't think Usyk and his team have corrected. But the bottom line is Tyson Fury, in my opinion, is, you know, I think he's a rematch specialist. And rematch specialists are some of those fighters who, you know, they have that acquired stubbornness that dissolves the moment they set foot in the ring. And I'm reminded, again, of the unpredictable nature of their profession. It is then, when in the ring, even someone like Tyson Fury, Lucky Fury, the ex-lineal champion lineal, beat him fair and square, whose views have never changed, become suddenly open to all possibilities and eventualities. That's when you see his malleability and realize that, you know what, no matter what this guy says and believes, Tyson Fury, no matter what y'all think, he knows the importance of getting better and growing, and that's why with his dad, John Fury, he doesn't have him in his corner for this fight. That's why he's got away from his family. He hasn't been talking to anyone. He's grown the beard out. He's fully locked in because he recognizes what he has to do. And I just feel that this has been evident in Tyson Fury's career. Now, of course, I have a way I feel about Tyson Fury and how he's been able to reemerge to the top of the sport. But the bottom line is he's done it. But never more so than in the three rematches that have, in my opinion, served to define him. Now, the first of the rematches involved John McDermott in 2010. That was an attempt to grab the neuralizer, and have us all forgot that we had witnessed McDermott soundly outbox Fury 9 rounds prior only to be stiffed by Terry O'Connor. That night, McDermott boxed the fight of his life. He capitalized on Fury seeing him as just a fat man and not a threat. To beat Fury to the punch time and time again and expose his technical deficiencies, it was, in the final analysis, as vulnerable as Fury has ever looked without being hurt and knocked down. Now, second time around didn't quite look like that. Fury promised to be better, even if still of the belief that he never lost the first fight. And he was actually better too, stopping McDermott convincingly in 9 rounds. And I think he's going to be better when he gets in the ring with Oleksandr Usyk. Now, his lesson clearly had been learned, and although he was loath to give him credit to his teacher, Fury nevertheless made sure he was much, much more improved when sitting down for the exam. This time he corrected himself. He said sorry, all was forgiven. Then, of course, the guy who won't retire was a rematch with Chisora in 2014. And then, of course, we know he fought Chisora a third time. But the bottom line is, Fury won by decision and landed the British and Commonwealth heavyweight titles. During the second fight, he just showed how improved he was. And, I mean, just like the third fight, it just was no contest. Okay, Chisora was just a punching bag for Fury. But it is what it is. Then definitely was the Wilder fights. And let me tell you something. Those fights between him and Wilder were absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Fury was able to adapt to Deontay Wilder's size, Deontay Wilder's power, everything. And that performance was so jarring of a shift that, I mean, it was, watching that, it was almost unrecognizable to see what Tyson Fury was able to do to Deontay Wilder, especially in the second and third fight. You know, you're watching him move, you're watching him hold his ground, you're watching him step to Wilder, you're watching him fight dirty. Like, Fury pulled out every trick in the book to get that win. And to prove to Wilder that I can outbox you and I can outfight you. Something that not many people thought he could do. But anyway, Fury did the business. And again, it comes back to his stubbornness, man. You know, had he not been so stubborn in those Wilder fights, Tyson Fury probably would have stayed down, rolled over, and just said, look, I'm sorry for messing with you, because Wilder always wanted him to be gone, and the way of so many previous Wilder opponents, and Wilder just wasn't able to get the job done. But anyway, man, we'll see if Tyson Fury will be able to get the job done against Usyk in the rematch, the way he's been able to do against Wilder, Chisora, McDermott. Some fans think Tyson Fury was slighted, you know. They do. They look at him fighting against Usyk and losing. They feel like he was slighted. If there's any time Tyson Fury should feel slighted, it'll probably have to be in that first Wilder fight where it was a draw. Even though I think Wilder deserved to get the win by knockout, it is what it is. But the fact that it went to a decision, and I think Tyson Fury did enough to win that fight, but he should feel slighted there. But in the end, in my opinion, man, when it comes to rematches, I think every rematch is an apology in a weird way. I think it's an apology issued by a fighter to their own physical potential and the idealized version of themselves they know they will never get to meet. in addition, I think it's a chance to make peace, either with an opponent or their own limitations, and find clarity in a sport that is definitely built on uncertainty. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Everybody has an opinion. Critics will no doubt question both the veracity and honesty of how fighters are being appraised, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. All that really matters when it comes to Tyson Fury, when it comes to Usyk, is that they believe in themselves, what they're saying, and understand the pitfalls of when you're in that ring and complacency sets in. You may not get an opportunity to do better when you're dealing with pitfalls of complacency. The fight can end like that. You have to believe what you're saying. You have to believe what you're doing. You have to believe in your team. Because the correction that Tyson Fury had to make, I think there were some things definitely to work on. With Usyk, the man fought damn near a perfect fight. And still had problems. Tyson Fury couldn't have fought any worse. So Usyk needs to be aware and be very careful. Because I think after this weekend, he would have just had a brief period of success that he enjoyed in one fight, which is going to be ultimately ruined by Tyson Fury and his ability to make the corrections and come out this weekend. And I predict he's going to KO Usyk in the 6th round. Anyway, whether Fury can confound Usyk with his own corrections depends on his ability to adjust and his ability to accept. Also, he can say whatever he likes in public to save face, which he's been pretty reticent the last couple of days. But the true indication of Fury's progress as both a boxer and a man is going to show up in the ring on fight night this Saturday. Same thing for Oleksandr Usyk. I just think when they're inside that squared circle, that's where both of them do their best work. It's their language. It's what they understand. And I think it's there where both of them are the most honest. But Tyson Fury definitely is very real with himself when he gets in that ring and when he's dealing with rematches and knowing what he has to do. And I think it's there. And I think it's only there where we're going to see Tyson Fury make those corrections that need to be made. And I think he's going to get the win and become unified champion again. 6th round, Tyson Fury KOs Oleksandr Usyk. Usyk hits the canvas, chest to canvas, ass in the air, looking crazy. Keep cool, I'm in the breeze.